So welcome to this new format where we're gonna be holding the space for those who are always supporting the task and will be supporting the task in the next years. As you might see, even today, it's very difficult to have a live translation. Whatever is being done live streaming, I will have to translate myself. So I remind you also that the reason why I want to translate myself in these cases is because this is not just a matter of language, this is a matter of frequency also. Of course, it's very important for my frequency to get to everyone when I do a meditation or an explanation. I would like to start with a short explanation of why we are building this rainbow bridge and before the alignment on balancing that rainbow bridge within us, which of course it will take more time than just one session. So the first thing that we have to have in mind is that when we think about rainbows, we usually see half or just a slice of what a rainbow actually is. I was having a conversation with someone that showed it to me very graphically, and I would like to share that with you also. So when we see a rainbow, we usually see half, which is just a bow. That's why we call it rainbow. Of course, the rainbow is not just a bow, it's a circle. We can see a circle. But usually, because we see the light of the rainbow when the sun is setting or rising, that's the best moment to see it. So we kind of see half of it because the other side is more dark. It's close to the ground. Because of the perspective, we cannot see the other side. But the truth is that there's no rainbow outside. That the rainbow has no ending, no beginning. The rainbow actually is a perception here inside. The origin of a rainbow and the shape of a rainbow is actually inside, because the colors of a rainbow is just a fractalization of light, which means that every photon is fractalized in the water of the rain, and it comes to us and we see the fractals of those photons. So we interpret the colors here within. All the colors that we see in the world is just an interpretation of our brain because of the photons that arrive in different lengths to our eyes. So that's why when we see a rainbow, we are actually seeing the spectrum of all these colors of white within our brain through our eyes. That's why with this person that we were talking about the rainbows, she told me that's why the rainbow is not a bow, it's not a circle, it's actually a cone that comes to us. That's why the reason why a rainbow exists is not because it happens outside, perception of each one of us, which are the observers. So that's why some people will see more colors, some people will see less colors. If the rainbow we can only see because it's an interpretation of the colors in our brain when the photons come through our eyes, this means also that all the colors that we see in the reality are actually a reflection of photons, which means that everything that we actually see is not actually as we perceive it, is just our brain interpreting how they look like. So because we all come from unicellular beings that started to absorb the light and try to interpret the photons. So now everything that we perceive looks like similar. We kind of say we all are seeing the same thing, even though we are perceiving different things. That's why the interpretation of things, the perception that we have of reality, is only here in our minds. Through millions of years, we have built up all these perceptions and we started to call them reality. And therefore, they become our reality. And we start to defend that reality. Some of the things that we have heard, for example, is to say, I only believe what I can see. But today, through science, not just spirituality, we can understand that everything that we see actually doesn't exist. Of the five senses that is right here inside. What this means that our inner being and our outer being station of only one thing, let's say a photon, that fractalizes itself into many other options. So in the same way as outside we see a rainbow, within we see chakras. So in the same way as we can see outside this reality with its many colors, within, we have our organs with different colors. So that means that within our own being, we have a huge fractalization of perceptions. Perceptions that we believe they are our reality, but they are just a perception of the mind. So if we leave our mind to work by itself without any purpose, it will start to create realities and believe anything that is around. So the mind is trying to find a balance in between all of that. What does the mind do in order to not to get crazy? crazy. What it does is to organize data in pulses, in electrical pulses, organize ideas, colors, thoughts, shapes, all in different pulses of our brain. So the pulse is the one that will organize all these different frequencies, all these different informations and fractalizations. Mind will always need like kind of a pulse that helps to balance, to organize everything that is moving around to be interpreted. A pulse to organize things, let's go towards the outside, it can be day and night. Every day is a pulse. Every hour is a pulse. Every time that we repeat a solstice, an equinox, that's a pulse. We have pulses outside that are cycles. We call them cycles, and they are useful for our mind to have order, to organize ideas. In our inner world, it also works all about pulses. And what is the most important of all the pulses that we can have in our life? Of course, the electrical pulse of our heart. The heartbeat is basically a pulse that organizes information. So for example, when you have a very low pulse in your heart, allows the mind to organize a lot of information in packages of data. So it's like a meditation. But if the heart beats faster, it means that we need to organize information in a very fast way because we need to solve something very quick. So we need a lot of data processing. So the pulse of our hearts is gonna shape the pulse of our brains. In the ancient world, people said there must be a way to communicate and balance the pulse from the outside with the pulses from the within. So throughout history, people started to think, how can we use properly the cycles of the pulses that are in nature to be balanced with the pulses that are within ourselves? So we need to find a middle point. So those pulses that help the interaction is what we call the rhythm. And rhythm is what today we call music. The word music is not related just to play an instrument. The word music comes from the word muse, which is the one that inspires, is a goddess or kind of like that helps you to inspire to create anything. So what does a muse does? So a muse basically helps you to understand the harmony of nature with the harmony within, the rhythms from the outside and the rhythm from the within, so you can create harmony and live in perfect balance with everything, being the creator. In order for us to actually be able to find this harmony, we need connection. And that connection means that we need to be in harmony with all the different parts that creates this rhythm. The music, the dancing, the meditation, the breathing outside with breathing within. It's all about finding that balance. But throughout history, we started to disassociate this harmony. So, for example, one of the things that happened in our history, in our life, is that we started to separate things. Like, for example, we say there is these colors in the rainbow, and we judge these different colors to different interpretations. So we say the red color is a low frequency and violet color is a high frequency. I rather follow the violet and go against the red one. Okay, so we start to separate this concept of just something that doesn't exist. We started to judge one single photon that started to spread the different layers of itself, and we judge the different layers of itself like if they are opposite. So what is this doing for us? That throughout all our history, we started to live or only through the heart or only through the mind. So if we only live through the heart, we have no clue why we do what we do. We just live through rhythms, but we are trapped in cycles that we don't know and we have no clue how to get out from. When we only live through the mind, we structure beliefs, ideas, concepts that just hold our vision into only one perceptions, like if we are inside a box. So we cannot change, we cannot transform that. So for example, we have created so much separation that there's a lot of people that they believe they are living in the hearts, but actually they live through the mind. And there's a lot of people that are living through the mind that think that they are in the heart. Basically, there's a lot of people that are living in a lie by themselves just because of this separation. This is something that I have been saying constantly in our talks, which is like in the world of spirituality, a lot of people say we have to be more in our hearts. We have to go to the heart. But actually what happens is that we think that going to the heart, we are solving things, but it's not. We have to calibrate and balance the opposites. We have to balance time and space, both together. So that's why it's so important. It's equally important to plan, to know, to study, to learn, to wonder, to question, equally important that also being, feeling, perceiving, sensing. Yeah. So it's equally important. So how do we connect these two things? Through the throat chakra. If you imagine yourself like a guitar, this is the tuning part of the guitar. This is the hole, the void, where you can sense the echoes of the sound. And these are the chords where you can play it. So that's why we need a hole, a void in our hearts that allows all the music, all the sounds to be heard. And we need to tune and to make some adjustments to our thoughts in order for us to play the song. That's why for me it's so important to talk about nothing and the void. The importance of void and nothing is because in a room that is full with stuff, the sound cannot properly sound. The noises, the sound, the music cannot be heard properly. So you need to empty your heart from all the things that you have been accumulating. A full heart doesn't allow the new songs to be played. You need a void in the center to allow the chamber to resound. That's why the void is so important, to be open to anything. So once we empty our hearts and we adjust our minds, that's the moment when we can start feeling our own sound. This inside is the rainbow bridge. That's what it means, the rainbow bridge. The rainbow bridge is I absorb all the colors of the perception. I realize that the perception is within me. I organize that into the right rhythm, and that will allow me to express a truth. In the meantime, we live in distortions. Humanity represents the mind of this world. We are not the heart of this world. We are the mind. We are the mind of Earth, and the rhythms of Earth, solstices, equinoxes, the moon, the times, those are the rhythms of the heart of Earth. We are the mind of a being that we are part of, but we separate those concepts like Earth and humanity. So that's why what we have to do is to balance our minds as humanity and create a rainbow bridge to the heart of Earth. So in every solstice and equinox, we can balance time and space in these frequencies. That's the task of HOLI NADA, and that's the task of the rainbow bridge. That is the task of the rainbow bridge, to balance the subconscious with the unconscious so we could express the conscious. So that's why it's so important for us to understand this through the mind. And once we understand this, we can go to our hearts and start to balance this. This is not a spiritual thing. Let's say this is not a spiritual task. This is an adjustment or tuning of the instruments that makes the planet work. So this is why we are starting our practice on how to do it. Thousands of people did it throughout history. There's no one way to do this. There are thousands of ways. So that's why what we are doing here is basically to start to tuning in one of these ways. So each one of you can find your own way so we can all start to play together and to tune in together. So that would be the intention. I hope it was clear. Of course, we are going to go deeper in each one of these topics. So of course, we are going to keep on going on practicing this. And of course, in Mexico, we are going to do a practice all together on how to do it, how to start doing it. That's why we are going to use solstices and equinoxes to do these gatherings in order for us to balance and tune the mind according to the rhythms of Earth. Okay. And of course, we are going to do it through music. We are going to do these alignments from the ancient types of music to the most harmonious music towards the electronic music. Why to use these types of music? The ancestral music, we're going to do it this way because the ancestral music marks the rhythm of Earth. The melodic music creates the rhythms of the rainbow in the center. And the last one, the electronic music, is the one that helps to the beats of the brain to pulse in the center, in our brain, and it connects with the magnetical field in the entire cosmos. So that would be an explanation of why we're going to use these three types of music to balance that. If you think, if you're ready, we can go to the part of music so we can calibrate all this.